Welcome to Crushing 1L, an ASMR review of my favorite office supplies. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to put you guys through that. I'll be vehemently opposed this, so we're not doing that this episode.
Not a big ASMR guy. Amina was like, "Should I whisper into the mic to start?" And I was like, "Please don't do that. Please don't do that."
It's still on the table. If you get it, like get through halfway of this podcast, like just be aware. It may happen.
Yeah, folks,
No,
leave a comment below if you want Amina to whisper into the
if you
mic.
want my
I
ASMR.
guess.
Yeah. No, but we're not doing ASMR. We are doing law school. We're so happy to be doing law school. This is actually a podcast about our first year of law school and how we're crushing it and definitely not being crushed by anything ever. I'm Amina. I am an Ask Responder here at LSAT Demon. I am the co-host of this lovely podcast, and I am a 1L at UCLA School of Law.
And I'm Abhi. Howdy, y'all. I'm a teacher and tutor at the Demon, and I'm a 1L at Penn Law. I almost said incoming 1L, but I am. We're like actually grown up 1Ls now. So it's funny.
Yeah.
I'm a 1L at Penn, and we're gonna be your hosts and your guides through the trials and tribulations of the all important first year.
Yeah, as we step forth into this brave new world, the show is going to memorialize our experience in law school, hopefully serving as a pathway for those of you who want to follow in our footsteps. Of course, we're going to be bringing along the friends we make along the way. So we'll be doing interviews with fellow law students, lawyers, and other law school graduates, really with the big picture idea to give you guys an insight on what it's like to be in law school and beyond.
Yeah, the real crushing 1L is the friends we make along the way, right?
And we always say
And
that.
we
We've
always
always
say
said
that.
that.
Yeah, last episode, folks, if you haven't checked it out, I think we had Aaron on, and that was a blast. What a fun conversation that was.
Such a good episode.
And we learned a ton. But yeah, so either way, folks, if you're prepping for law school, or you're already in the thick of it, or you're somewhere in between, or you just started studying for the LSAT, or even you're just considering law school, right? This is the spot for you. You're in the right place. We're super happy to have you. So welcome in.
Welcome, welcome. And yeah, just really quick going back to that Aaron episode, like even for me, like now really getting into, and we'll talk about this, but like getting into the first weeks of law school, like listening to the stuff that Aaron said was such a sanity check. Really appreciated it. So I definitely recommend that you guys go check that out. But yes,
Helpful to have somebody who's done it and did well, kind of just like you said, sanity check, like, hey, like this is what I'm thinking. She's like, yeah, or no, which it's super helpful.
yes, but in the interest of time, let's talk a bit about time management. Um, I am not well known for my time management skills, but I am trying to be better because that is one way to get crushed by 1L, poor time management. So, what I have devised, two things, but like part of me like I need to see what my timelines look like. And so to do that, I got this whiteboard calendar.
You're so brave for
Um
showing your calendar on camera. That's crazy.
um Okay, well, really quick flash it just so you can see how tiny I wrote everything. I'm pulling it really far away because it's too, if you look on camera, like my handwriting's too tiny for you to really know what's going on there. But this is what's going on in my life. And yeah, I have my little, at the top there, I have in Italian, it says Scemi più grande di te, which really just, for me, it means, I stole this actually from the, My Favorite Murder podcast. And they say bigger dummies than you. And it just reminds me like, again, like to the sanity check, like, don't think that like everybody knows what's going on and you don't. People are doing this seat of their pants.
Yeah, we're all just figuring this out, right? Yeah, and yeah,
We're all just figuring it out.
and that's a great life update. I think my life update is very similar. I am not a calendar person. I have begrudgingly had to accept calendars in my life for law school. I thought I could
Yeah.
somehow, I don't know why, I thought I could make it without one. That was stupid. I have to check my calendar multiple times every day. There's so many events, like random lunch hours that become little event, informational sessions about stuff. Professors booking little meetings, coffee chats, or office hours. You have to track your professor's office hours. You have to track your TA's office hours. You have to track when you're supposed to be where, and where that is, and can you get there in time. So man, I regret to inform all the type B people out there, even we have to use time management skills, which is sad.
Yeah. Again, not known for time management, have been using both a physical and a Google Calendar, and I'm still like just barely getting by. But yeah, that's my update. I'm transitioning, I'm adapting to the circumstances, and it seems like so are you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we have to, right? There's so many moving parts. Things are scheduled days and weeks in advance sometimes, and then
Yeah.
sometimes people will be like, "Oh, like, can you meet at this time for this thing?" And it's like, well, you can't just say yes anymore because there's a chance you have something at that time. So I've been
Yeah.
learning that lesson the hard way. I've caught myself double booked a couple times, and that's just it's so
No.
sad. But yeah, we figured it out. I think, yeah, big life update for us folks. Time management. If you have any questions, feel
Woo.
free to write in. I don't know if we have any answers for you. We're still kind of figuring this out, but if you're not a calendar person, bad news. You're gonna have to
Or if
become
you have
one.
suggestions for us, like I'm always looking for ways to improve in all areas. So
Yeah,
let us know.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to hear any of your suggestions because I'm barely hanging on to my own conception of time management. So direct all of your time management suggestions to me. I don't have the capacity to
Yeah.
to accept any comments at this time.
So fair, so valid.
Cool.
But yeah,
Let's
so that's what's going on.
that's Yeah, that's our life. Those are our life updates. Let's move into substantive law school experiential stuff, right? So this is the segment we like to
Yes.
call law school. So Amina, what are your reflections? It's been a few weeks now. How's it
Yeah.
going? What's working? What's not? How are your classes going? Give me the law school stuff.
Okay, so first and foremost, as our episodes have just dropped, I was listening to like our initial ideations and things that we were saying before we got into law school. And I recall that I said I wanted to crush torts. I was excited to see what torts would be like. I have seen. Um, I think if anything in law school is crushing me, it's torts right now. And here's why.
Sad.
Here's why. So our torts professor, like, he gives us so many cases to read every day, like for every class period. And it's like the fun thing about torts is like, you know, the cases are interesting because it's like real stuff that happens to real people. And it's like some of the stuff is like kind of like that's a tort, like whoa. Um, but and then some of the stuff is like very classic, like ideas that you would have about battery or assault, like yes. But like the cases are interesting to read, but like the volume of them is just like ooh, I am getting a little crushed by that. That's why I really need to like kick in my time management because literally torts on its own, I was like, I have to get better at time managing because I'm like losing so much time that I need to be reading, doing other stuff, and I'm getting crushed by torts. But outside of that, I mean, like again, my professor, great guy, class is interesting. Just like the amount of reading for torts is crushing me. What else? Oddly, oh, sorry.
No,
Did you
I,
want to say
I, I
something?
was just gonna say that I definitely relate to that. I think the readings add up. Um, I think for people listening at home, we have generally like three doctrinal classes in a semester. Each of them meet to make the math easy. Each of them meet 3 times a week. That may or may not be the case for every class you take and for every law school, but like
Hmm.
3 times 3, that's 9. And then they generally assign 2 to 3 cases minimum to read for each class. So again, conservatively, it's there's 18 classes. Sorry, there's nine classes, 2 classes each, so that's 18, or it could be like 27, and that's just like the main stuff. That's not including
Yeah.
any extra stuff that you have to do.
Well, yeah, but like to that point, so like in our torts reading, we'll have like between 6 to 8 cases a
Oh, that's a
reading.
lot.
That's what I mean.
That's a
Like it's
lot.
a lot. Like they're not all like full on cases. So okay, like we're getting a little bit into the terminology of law school, but I don't think maybe let's walk it back a little bit. Like okay, when I say it's not a full on case, like you'll have cases that are like multiple pages. In our torts work, we also have cases that are like a couple paragraphs that just kind of like give you an introduction to like a rule of law or like an area of
Yeah.
like a tort.
Yeah, so our
Yeah.
textbooks for our classes are called casebooks. The reason they're called casebooks
Hmm.
is they're compilations of cases, aka judicial opinions about important cases that cover important topics that the casebook
Yeah.
writers and the professor that you have that's assigned it believe kind of progress through a body of law in a meaningful way. So that's kind of some of the background there.
Yeah. So yeah, that. But yeah, so in that art torts reading we have so much. Yeah. In addition to all the other classes we're doing. But outside of that, again, listening to Aaron's episode, Aaron really liked civil procedure. I also am finding myself to really like civil procedure in a way that I did not expect. Like, I really appreciate, like, oh, there are rules here and it makes sense. Like, we're operating on something that I can latch on to.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool, like what we're reading for in each class, because we read cases for every class, but what you're reading them for varies wildly depending on what your professor kind of
Hmm.
orients to and what the point of the class is. So, like, yeah, civil procedure, like the facts of the case and the procedural history and like all of those details matter a lot more because that's the meat of why we're thinking about that problem. Versus like
Hmm.
in torts, the facts may or may not be that important. It's like, okay, the tort happened, now what? Right? How do we evaluate whether somebody was acting carelessly or not? So it's more about like interpreting the facts and reasoning through the facts rather than arguing about what happened necessarily. Um, Again,
Yeah.
that's an oversimplification, but that's what I find interesting is there's actually something cool to get from every angle of each of the classes that we get to take. So very cool.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's my highlights on most, and I can't say that Torts is my least favorite class. Like, I really, my professor, again, sweet guy. But like, just the reading is really intense. But like, that's kind of my ranking on my class experiences so far. Yeah. What about you? What are classes like for you?
Yeah, classes are going great. I mean, I think I kind of just whatever you just explained resonates with me. I think it's actually fair. So for me, it's actually a fairly reasonable amount of work that we're being assigned, and we actually have a fairly reasonable amount of time to complete it all. The
Mhm.
variable that is going wrong for me is I suck, right? Like we're new at this. Like we all kind of stink at this at doing this, and so we're just not very efficient. And so I've been commiserating with
Mhm.
my classmates, like, man, it's actually a decent. It's like an okay amount of reading. It's not crazy. It's not like 1,000 pages every week. It's like
Yeah.
a decent amount of reading, especially because this is our day job, and we actually are given plenty of time to complete it. But we're just slow right now, and so that's kind of we're working through the frustrations of like being new at something and being not so
Mhm.
good at something at first, which is very normal experience. And so, if anybody's listening, like I want to validate your experience. If you're on the struggle bus right now, hey, brother, so are we. We're all on the struggle bus together. But I think the light at the end of the tunnel is I can feel myself getting a little bit better already. So like instead of reading and understanding and briefing a case taking me like 60 minutes in some cases, it takes me like less time than that. It takes me like 30 or 40 minutes. And so that's already a small improvement. Now people, 2 L's and 3 L's listening might go like, dude, that's still slow as hell. Tracking, I'm still slow. But hey, I'm at least a little bit faster than I was last week,
Yeah.
which feels good.
Yeah, and again, like to validate people who are listening, like when I started in like our law 101 class, which was like our intro to law school before we started law school, like it was taking me like an hour and a half to read and brief 3 pages.
Yeah,
Now it's not taking me an hour and a half, and that's so nice.
it's huge.
But like even to that, like one of our professors like hosts a workshop on like best practices and how to like get the most out of class and studying and all that. And even he was saying like right now, like it may be taking you like an hour to read 5 pages. And like so yeah, if you're experiencing that while you're now in law school or when you get to law school, like that's normal, that's valid, like you're
Very
fine.
normal. It's part of the
You're okay.
process. That's the learning
Yes.
process, right? Like we are learning
Hmm.
this new. That's what we were talking about with Aaron, right? We're learning this new language. Of course, we're going to be slow, and of course, we're going to stumble,
Hmm.
and we're going to maybe miss a key point that we talk about in class, folks. That's the point of class, right? Is that your professor's
Yeah.
going to tease out these big ideas, and whether you got to them or not, they're going to get to them. So yeah, it's been a blast, man. We're so lucky, dude. We're so lucky to be
Yeah.
doing this. It's so fun.
Yeah. It's so, yeah, I mean, like, yes, but also again, if you are feeling like you hate life while you're going through, like, I'm with you every week. Like, when I get to Friday, I feel like the sun starts shining again.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
during the week, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I
yeah.
literally, like, genuinely, like, sometimes I don't feel like a person. Like, I am just a law student and I am nothing else right now. Like, I don't have the bandwidth to be anything but here, reading cases, pulling briefs, and like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Monday through Thursday is rough, but Friday,
It's
but
really tough. So if you're feeling that, we feel it. We're with you.
yeah, it almost feels like
That's true.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are their own distinct week.
Yeah.
Do you feel that
It's
too?
yes, it's I'm like I'm really like when I say the sun shining, like if you have experienced me in person, like I'm very transparent in terms of my emotional experience, like the way that my vibe is.
Sure.
So like when I say that, like the sun starts shining, it's like I literally like the smile on my face is like like it hurts because I'm so happy to be like in the weekend. Like
Yeah.
you can feel it, like the sunshine. Like
On
yeah.
the other hand, weekends are big prep for me, right? So like weekends are where I actually get all the reading done for the preceding week. So
Yeah.
it's kind of this pros and cons where like when you're in the middle of the week, it's a lot, but you're actually not hopefully not doing a ton of work after because the 9 to 5 is pretty like taxing. So hopefully you've done a lot of your stuff over the weekend.
Mm.
Is that always the case? No. Like I got to Wednesday and I was like, man, I was good through Wednesday, and then I was looking at Thursday's schedule and I was like, I got some work to do on this Wednesday evening. So say la vie, but yeah, it
Sounds
kind of
like
links back to the time management thing, but
yeah, it sounds like you're doing time management way better than me. And like that's the one thing like so to the social aspect. So we talked a bit about um classes, but like to the social aspect, like and albeit it sounds like you've been experiencing this too, but like there are so many social ways to connect because part of law school is career building, right? So like
yeah.
there are so many social things you can tap into, specifically like huge one is lunches. Like, oh my goodness, there are so many lunches. Every I took a
I
lunch
haven't
on
paid for lunch all week.
I took a lunch on Tuesday and like I brought it home yesterday because I hadn't had the time to eat it because I was at lunches all the time.
Mm.
Um, Additionally, like unfortunately, I have been using my weekends also as like social time to like connect with other law students, which is good like to connect with people, but bad because that means I'm not doing that like reading prep. So like actually this weekend I'm like I gotta log in and like do my reading
Well,
prep because
and there's like different strokes for different folks, right? Like I think like some people get to class and they did the reading so far in advance that the professor asks them like, "Hey, what happened?" And they're like, "Sorry, I need a second. Like I did this reading so long ago that I kind of don't remember." So there's like a balance of like you don't want to be so far ahead that you find yourself
yeah,
doing the work twice. Like you find yourself having to reread the case before class anyway.
yeah.
But also like maybe splitting the work so that you don't feel like the world is ending every night during the week because you have like a whole day's worth of work to do from scratch and you're exhausted because you've been at law school for 8 hours. So
Yeah.
there's a
So
balance somewhere in between there.
yeah, I'm gonna try out the weekend prep thing this weekend. I'll check back in next week to see if I still feel like the world is ending during the weeks.
Give it a shot. Give it a
Maybe.
shot. I
We'll see
again,
what
I
happens.
think it's like don't expect yourself to get through everything, by Sunday night. But like, if you even get one of your classes off your plate, and you're like, cool, I'm good. I'm good on torts for the rest of the week. Like,
That would be
right?
incredible.
That's huge.
That
And
would
then
be
it's
insane.
right, and then you don't have to worry about that in your evening, and then you
Hmm.
might feel better. So I don't know, something to consider. I've been doing that, but to be clear, I've been super bad. I have a writing assignment due tomorrow, and I like haven't made the progress that I was hoping to make on it, and so tonight's going to be like kind of stressful for that, and so that might dig
Yeah.
into my weekends being for reading. My the writing is going to dig into the reading time, so it is what it is. Nobody's perfect. So it's we're all trying our best, man.
We're doing our best.
We're
Like we're
trying
really
our
doing our
freaking
best.
best, dude.
But Abby, what's your going back to classes? What's your favorite class so far? I don't think you
Oh,
actually
dude,
mentioned.
I can't pick between my favorite children. I love them all. I love them all for different reasons. I
Mm,
like the procedural nitty gritty of Civ Pro, right? It's like reading the rules to the board game, and if you enjoy that, you're gonna really like Civ Pro. I really like Torts. My Torts professor is so charismatic, and the way that he teaches a concept that may or may not be interesting on its face. But
mhm.
the way that he structures the class, it's tremendously interesting. And then our contracts professor is also like so good. And the contracts cases are very interesting, right? It's this question of like
Yeah.
how do these promises come into effect? Like what's a promise? When do they matter? I like them all, dude. It's hard. It's hard for me to pick. It's hard for me to pick.
That's fair. That's fair. And then for lunch events, like has anything like piqued your interest so far?
Dude, I'm at a lunch event every day. You know what piques my interest is free food. No, but also there's also just so much stuff going on, dude. The law school is a nexus of activity. It's like bustling. There's so many cool people, and they're always like explaining something. There's so many opportunities to learn. I went to like a vet session, and there was lunch provided, and I was like, wow, I'm learning about like education benefits to the military while I also get to enjoy a tasty lunch. Like, wow, what a serendipitous occasion. So yeah, no, it's so good, and even when there's not an event, you might be able to grab a buddy and go, hey, like, do you want to walk to Chipotle, and we can chat about what's going on with class, and you get to connect and recap maybe some cases, or it doesn't have to be about cases. Like, you can recap like normal human conversation too. And yeah, go grab lunch with a buddy. By the time you walk
Yeah.
back, it's time for your next class. Too easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lunch is great. I will say the one thing. So speaking of casebooks, Amina,
Hmm.
those bad boys were a little pricey. I don't know if
Hmm.
you might have been more fortunate than me. A lot of law schools have networks where 2Ls and 3Ls will like give their books down to the 1L so that they don't have to incur the cost. Sounds like maybe you benefited from that a little bit.
No.
Okay, never mind.
So no. So I think did you also have so what our law school did was called a textbook exchange. So the student body association like sent out like a huge spreadsheet with a bunch of um 2Ls and 3Ls who were giving away their sorry, not giving away, but selling their books. But you know, that went so quickly. Like it went so quickly and the books like case books typically like in the vicinity of $300. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think yeah, if you look on Amazon or if you look at the bookstore, like a new or even used, honestly, textbook, it's gonna be like high twos, low threes,
Yeah.
which is crazy because you need like three or four of them every semester.
Right. So I did not have the good fortune of getting my books from the student, like the book exchange. But, and I say this a lot, I am a community builder. I love community. Like that's my bread and butter. So I was tapped into the community of my section, and this angelic soul in our section just like gave us PDFs for all the I'm holding my iPad because these are my case books. Like here they are,
Got
right
it.
in here.
That's huge.
Um Huge, like all of them here. But yeah, I got really lucky in that I was able to source my books as PDFs. Um so I just
That's
incurred a
nice.
lot less cost for
Yeah,
my
well,
books.
and I'm jealous of that because so actually Penn and some other schools we're actually moving towards analog. So a lot of our
Mm.
so my section, no electronics in our class. So we don't have our
Mm.
laptops. We take handwritten notes. We have our
Oh,
physical case books, and so I have little binders where I print out my briefs, and so like I
yeah.
bring my case briefs typed out, and then I take notes on them. It's been really great because everybody's paying attention because like there's nobody's on like fucking Amazon, or nobody's on
Yeah.
doing online shopping or sending emails. Everybody's kind of paying attention, which is super nice. Um, I will say the downside of that is our exams are also going to be like no PDF case books. Like you have to if you don't have your physical book, like you're not
Yeah.
going to have your book on the test.
Yeah.
Some of our classes like don't even like know anything, like no casebook, no outline, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to conduct an exam, but
That's how
it'll
my
be
torts classes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my torch class as well. And so it's like it's interesting, like the intersection of like technology can be really helpful. Like it's oftentimes like a more affordable way to source your stuff, but as like as law schools change their minds or adapt some of their policies about technology in the classroom, there's like interesting first and second order effects of that. One of them being
Hmm.
my textbook exchange was also crazy. We have a group me for the whole school, and so 2Ls will like post a picture of their books and be like selling, and it's just an auction. It's like a wild auction process. They go so fast, especially because there's an entire incoming class of 1Ls that are looking for our
Yeah.
physical casebooks, and there may not be
Yep.
the same number of 2Ls that needed physical casebooks. So there's a disparity in the market. And so
Yikes.
on a textbook or two of mine, I had to take the L and just kind of get it from the bookstore. And so like even the used copy from the bookstore was $250, which is like and again, I'm so blessed, Amina. Like I get a textbook stipend from the GI Bill, so
Oh
they send me
wow.
like I think it's like $600 something dollars. So I was actually able to keep my expenses within that because I relied heavily on people being generous. Like I got my Torts textbook for like $50 from a 2L. I got another used textbook from another 2L for a discounted price. And so I was actually able to keep the expenses, well, relatively manageable. But that's a lot of money. So I don't
Yeah, it
know.
really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those costs it's yeah. Try and
Yeah.
build a community that you can talk. not try and build a community, sorry, but like get in touch with other people. I've said this
Yeah,
before, I'll say it again. Like get in touch with other people. Like that's going to be your best resource. That's the best resource I've been finding in law school so
100%.
far.
And
Yeah.
your library will often also have standing reserves of textbooks. So if you're
Yes.
just
Yeah.
proactive and you're willing to do the work, you can borrow the book from the library and like acquire, make scans of it. That's legal. Like this is totally this is what the library's for. You can make scans to use for every class. As long as you don't scan the
Yeah.
whole textbook and then
Yeah. Can't put the whole textbook.
staple it and then sell it to somebody. That's copyright infringement. But if you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to read this case for next week, but I don't have the textbook. Well, too easy. Your law library does, and you can scan that case, the 2 or 3 pages, put that into a little packet for yourself, and then boom, you have the case. So there's
Yeah.
ways around this.
Yeah. Like our library at UCLA has like a kick scanner for that exact purpose of like it's literally a book scanner,
Yeah,
like
we have a
scanning.
fancy, yeah, like a real book
Mhm.
scanner. So it's not like you're taking a picture with your iPhone. That would be
Yeah.
sad. Um,
Yeah. But
cool.
yeah, so yeah, and yeah, hot tip. If you need your books, check the library,
Check the
see if you can
library.
get a scan of them. Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah.
That's the law school stuff, folks. Now we're gonna move to the listener questions. So, Amina, I think, do you want to take this first one? It's from Anonymous.
Yeah, so our first question is from Anonymous, and it is cold calling scary? How do you survive it, and should I be worried about it? Um, you know what? Honestly, so I don't think cold calling is scary. I've been, but I've also feel like I've had good cold calling experiences so far, and that my professors have done cold calling in a way where it's like they're inviting you to discussion, right? Like we are all reading the cases, hopefully. We are all like you know, knowledgeable about what's going on in the case. So it's like, okay, like as long as you can have a basic conversation of like what are the facts of the case? What are the like what was the holding? What was the rule? Even if you're not like right spot on, like the professor will guide you towards understanding and also like, in doing so help the class understand and like open up the floor for discussion. Um how do you survive cold calling? Just do your reading. Do your reading. So here's the thing. Do your reading, listen to our acing orientation episode where we talked about how to read well and like engage with the text, right? So like don't just do it like, okay, I'm just like pulling facts from the case and like that's the only reason I'm reading this and I'm done with it. Like engage with it, like have thoughts about it, and then you'll be ready to do a cold call. I feel like.
Yeah, it's just be ready to talk. And then also, and this is kind of something Amina just mentioned, but I'll just double tap this a little bit. There's no right or wrong answers. They're not testing
Hmm.
you. That's not the point.
Yeah.
They're not testing you to see, oh, did you read the case? No, the assumption is you did. The assumption is also that you're not going to remember every tiny detail. That's not the point, right? They want to bring out the facts, and each professor is going to have a different angle on every case, right? So they're going to guide the conversation with you. Think of the cold call as a conversation, like Amina just said, and they're going to guide the conversation to tease out whatever facts or takeaways that they think are important. You're kind of just along for the ride. You don't get to decide what questions they ask. You don't even really get to decide what answers they're looking for. It's just kind of your job to be the conduit with which they speak to the class, right? They're essentially picking you as a representative sample of here's an average person in this section. What did the students take away from it, and how can I guide them to be more aware of what I want them to take away from it? You're
Yeah.
kind of just there. It's not really about you in any way. So there's nothing to survive, and you certainly shouldn't be worried because the professor's going to hold your hand through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like again seconding that you really shouldn't worry. Like it's it's not a test, as Abby said. Like they were not trying to figure out, oh, well, we want to make you look stupid. Like, no. I mean, okay, some professors may be trying to like make you wrong. And if you but like even that, like if you know that, just know that that's what it's going to be and like don't take it personally like I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough because they're trying to belittle me. Like no, it's like they're doing whatever they're doing as a part of their teaching style. So it's not
Right.
about you.
Yeah, I think
Um
give them the benefit, even if you think they're being mean, I promise you, like, give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, they're not trying to be mean. That's just whatever pedagogical teaching method they've chosen. Now, is that effective or not? I don't know. That's a different conversation, but their intentions are probably pure, right? Like, they aren't there to embarrass you. They're trying to get the answer for the class.
yeah. And like a tip I got from a professor recently too is like if you feel like that, like you can talk to the professor and be like, "Hey, like I feel like this is what's going on in cold calls. Like, is that what you're doing? Like, are you trying to make me wrong so that not make me not like that, but like are you
Right.
trying to like get me to make a mistake so that you can like explain it to the class or like what is the purpose of
Right.
the way you're teaching?" Like you can have that discussion with your professors.
Yeah, and these are pros, right? A lot of our professors have been teaching for decades. Like they're happy to discuss their process. Are
Yeah.
they going to change it? Probably not. But they're happy to give you insight into why they believe what they believe. Have conversation with your
Yeah.
professors. 99% of them are the kindest, smartest people I've ever met. And so just yeah, they're people. Like just talk to them. Also,
Yeah.
um, anything else to say
So
on this
yeah,
question?
no, like don't be scared of cold calls. Like just do your reading, be interested in the law, and like you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Yeah. And like, dude, the cold call is not about you, and nobody's gonna remember what you say. I can't remember what any of my classmates have said on any of their cold calls. You know what everybody's paying attention to? What the professor's saying, right? So whatever they're
Yes.
doing to guide whatever the conversation is, everybody writes down not what you say, right? Because nobody cares. Like, no offense, but nobody really cares what you say unless it's insightful. Sometimes our
Yeah.
peers have like really, really insightful things to say, and that's awesome. And I'm writing that shit down.
And you
I
should.
I only remember your wins, y'all. I only remember your wins. So when you get a win in
Yeah.
class, everybody's like, "Hell yeah, that person just got a win." And if you do or don't, nobody really pays attention. And then the professor gets whatever takeaway they want to get to, and then we write that down too. So
Yeah. Actually, I think that's kind of the big point. Like what you're really focusing on in law school, and you'll hear this again and again when you get there, but it's like what your professor is saying because you're preparing for your exams, right? So like what your professor is saying is super duper important. Like that again, that's the point of the cold call. It's about your professor's teaching style. So when your professor is responding to you in the cold call, like that's when you need to take notes. That's what you need to like be aware of. Um, Not so much like what is happening to you or to the student who is
yeah,
experiencing the cold call.
nobody's gonna remember how your cold call went, and everyone's gonna say, "I'm sure you did great. I'm sorry, I wasn't really listening. I was just I was some of the feedback is like I'm just glad it wasn't me," which is like well like if you're freaking out, don't worry. The person next to you is like, "Whew, at least it wasn't me." They're not listening to whatever thing you think that they're listening to. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's cold calls
too easy. Cold
so
calls.
far.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
not scary. You will survive them, and no worries.
Don't
Awesome.
worry. Yeah.
We have another listener question. This one's from one of our colleagues, Amina. This one's from team member Jackson. He submitted a while ago, but we're hitting it now.
Hey
Shout out to
Jackson.
Jackson. Thanks for giving us this topic to talk about. Jackson's curious about the social dynamics of the first year. Will some people be super competitive and not want to collaborate and talk about readings together, or do friend groups form pretty quickly? Does this maybe depend on the school? I can take a stab at this question, Amina, and then I'm curious to hear your perspective. I have a feeling
Yeah.
our answers are going to be pretty similar. Um, People are certainly not competitive, at least in month one, from what I can tell. Because to be competitive, you have to like think that you can do something better than somebody else. In my opinion, like maybe I don't know. And everyone in my class and in my section is like, dude, I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm just trying my best. And then we see each other and we're like, I see that you're trying your best too. I'm never going to judge anything that somebody says in a cold call. I'm never going to judge anybody on what they think the takeaway of the case is, in the same way that I hope nobody judges me for that. So, certainly not competitive, and in fact, super, super collaborative in the sense that, like I mentioned, right? Even just walking to and from class, we're chatting about the cases, or class will end and somebody will turn, I'll turn to the person next to me and go, hey, like, is this what the professor meant in that last little comment she might have made? It seemed important. Is this what you got out of it too? And the person next to me will go, yeah, I think it is. Or no, I think it's not, but here's what I think she said. Everyone's on the same team, man. We're all trying to figure this out together. We talk about the readings. We collaborate. We work together. We answer each other's questions. And certainly, those are friend groups in the making. I'm not gonna go on a limb and say like yes, like I've met my best friends, but like I've met some really really cool people, and I hope to continue a friendship with them.
Yeah. I think for me, like what has characterized my experience in terms of like the social dynamic of law school so far at UCLA, of course I'm speaking that's all I can speak to, but like my friend Liam, who I met in law school or met through law school, he has this like phrase that like sticks out to me as being again like the best to characterize, which is we resist adversarial mindsets and we share resources. Um, and like that's how I feel like people are. Like we are resisting adversarial mindsets. We are not in competition. Like we are all just trying to do our best, and we're open to like conversation. Like and like a lot of times, and we talked about this with Aaron too. Like this feeling of like, oh, like everybody else knows things that we don't. And like we can't say that we don't know because everybody else knows and we don't want to be embarrassed.
Right.
They, we do not know. I don't know. The person next to me didn't know. We're all having the same questions. We're all wondering the same thing. Maybe a couple people like have an idea of what they think is right or wrong, but like we're all in the same boat, like just
We're
trying to
all
figure it out.
we're all
So
running
yeah.
our own race, man. Right? Like it's actually something that Ala and Josh and I just talked about. We just recorded a 175 plus panel recently, and I don't know if that's out yet or when this is coming out, but um, when we use language like we feel behind or somebody might
Hmm.
be ahead or keeping up the pace, we're not describing how you're doing relative to your peers. That's not the point. The only race you can run is your own. Like
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
the goal is to be the best version of yourself showing up every day, right? So when we say we feel behind or ahead, it's like, did I do the prep that I needed to do to feel adequately prepared for whatever task, right? Yeah, it's I love it, dude. I mean, it's we want to do our best. Everybody can do their best. It's not zero sum. Control the things you can control. Don't think about stuff like the curve. It's just not in your control. It's simply just
Yeah.
not. You can't decide how well other people do, and so there's no reason to like try to keep them down or do the adversarial. Like I love how you guys said it, right? Resist that adversarial feeling because it's not helpful. There's just no point to that. Stay in your own lane, do your best, help your friends and your peers do their best. Everybody should do their best. That's the goal. And folks, this is your professional network, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm going to school with people that I hope to be practicing law with for decades. I'm more interested in that. To me is more valuable than any marginal whatever that any of us might find, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I run your own race.
That I love that. That is actually such a big, like one of my big like quotes that I think about often of like it's actually Michelle Obama that I think of. She said you have to walk your walk. I'm like so important. And also the other one is like comparison is the thief of joy, right? So it's like you're sitting here comparing yourself to other people. I am so guilty of this
Yeah,
comparing all the time. Like, oh, this person is doing that better. This person's got this and they understand that. And it's like it doesn't serve you whatsoever because it's like you can't control what other people have and don't have. All you can control is what's going on with you. So it's like you just have to walk your walk and deal with what you're dealing with and do the best
yeah,
with that situation. So love that you said that, like so important. Like
yeah. And stuff might work for other people that might not work for you, or vice versa,
right.
right? So you heard about Amin and I's time management plans. That doesn't mean you have to do what we're doing. No, walk your own walk, run your own race, figure your own shit out, find something that works for you, and then also like be friendly, be a member of your community, help other people
Yeah.
find what works for them too. So social dynamics, right? To kind of wrap this up and to kind of call back to Jackson's question, the social dynamics are collaborative
Hmm.
and they're equitable and they're not competitive and yes, these people are our friends. That's kind of my succinct answer to the question.
Yeah. And like again, like Abhi and I are speaking about our schools respectively, but like, this is the T14 as much as that matters. Like this is the T14 rank that we're talking about. Like these are the
Yeah,
top law schools and this is the experience that we're having. So like likely it's not going to be really cutthroat other places as well,
yeah. One
unless it
and
is.
I should I should caveat right. So one of the big things that drew me to Penn. Look, this is a sales pitch for Penn. The collegial thing. They put that in all their marketing materials. It sounds like an exaggeration. Oh, we're collegial, collegiality, all this stuff. And then you like meet the law students at Penn Law, and they are the most collegial people I've ever interacted with professionally. So, yeah, it's a huge fan of that. So, and again, I've heard similar things about UCLA. Like people are just
Yeah.
kind at our schools. So again, your
Yeah.
mileage may vary, but I can't imagine it's that different, right? What's the upside of not being collegial? I don't understand.
Being first in your class, being better than
Yeah.
everybody.
And then everybody hates you, and then
And then
nobody is
every
gonna call you if they need help with anything, and then you're gonna be the saddest, loneliest attorney on earth. So
but maybe the rich is. So trade off.
How are you going to get rich
No,
without case
no, yeah,
referrals,
no, no,
dude?
no. Yeah, yeah. But yes, same thing. Like UCLA also very much emphasize like the community that they curate, and like I really, really see and feel that. I mean, nobody's perfect, nothing's perfect, but like super strong communities. It sounds like for both of our schools. So yeah, that's what you have to look forward
Absolutely.
to, Jackson.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and yeah, thanks again, Jackson, for writing in, and our team has been so supportive. Like they're always asking us questions, like, "Hey, this is a question that you can think about for the podcast." So thanks, folks. Thanks to the team for supporting this, and again, listener questions. If you want to write in, you can go to crushing1l.com, and it's just a type form that you could fill out and write us a question, or you could email podcast@crushing1l.com. Again, that's the number one. So in both the website, crushing1l, it's crushing the number one l.com. And if you want to email us, it's podcast@crushing1l, the number one.com. That's it for listener questions. Amina, do you want to transition to, speaking of schools, I suppose that's a terrible segue, but
Segway.
segue. Yeah. So some of the feedback we got, hey, we should be more specific about which segments we're transitioning to. So I'm just going to yell segue every time we segue to a new segment. So segue, um,
Segway.
current events, Amina. What's going on in the world of law school and legal education?
Yeah, so in sunny Arizona, what do you know? It's a desert in more ways than one. Apparently, Arizona is a legal desert. Have you
That was
have
a
you heard
very
this? Are
clever
you
turn of
familiar with this?
phrase. That was, yeah, well done.
Hey, this is what they pay me for. But no. So Arizona, legal desert. They are talking about a plan to fix this, and their plan is to create a Master of Legal Studies. Now, this specifically, what we're referencing in this article, this was an article from Fox 10 Phoenix, written by Lauren Clark and Kenneth Wong. So what they're talking about in terms of like trying to ameliorate this legal desert is to create a Master of Legal Studies program for criminal law. And essentially, the way that they're proposing this to work is that you do this 1 year program. I think there's an exam involved, and then like 1 to 2 years of like basically like an apprenticeship with an attorney. At which point after that you'll be able to represent clients. And it's interesting, like, so Masters of Legal Studies is a thing and it exists outside of this context. And essentially what it is you, as a non like lawyer, you're able to like basically like do a master's degree in law. So you get an idea of like legal principles, legal, whatever it is that they teach you in your master's of legal studies, whatever is concentrated to the master study of the law. And then you can apply that to like whatever field you're in, like across your different careers, so on and so forth. But it doesn't allow you to practice law. It doesn't qualify you to take the bar exam. You can't become a lawyer off of a master's of legal studies. So this is kind of a new approach to specifically target like the legal desert that's happening in Arizona. But yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they're selling it like it's like a trade school for like a
Hmm.
specific practice area of law. And again, the reason they're targeting this, according to the article, Arizona's 49th out of 50 in the U.S. for lawyers per capita. And apparently the gap is most prominent in criminal law. Now, there's a couple of reasons we can imagine why the gap is most prominent in criminal law, right? Public defenders don't get paid nearly what they should. And there's also a dearth of them, right? So there's more clients that need public defenders than there are public defenders to go around. And so if you've talked to any PD, and if you've even heard of like what the vibe is like at these public defender offices, man, they're overworked, underpaid, and stressed the hell out, right?
Yeah.
So I can see like I can see why the good folks in Arizona are saying, okay, here's a big problem. We may or may not graduate enough attorneys. I mean, it's unclear if they do even that, right? 49th out of 50 for lawyers per capita means, I mean, that by itself doesn't mean anything, right? So I don't know if lawyers per capita is a good number or a bad number. So I'm not going to come to a conclusion on that. But generally speaking, relative to other states, they have fewer lawyers. And they've identified this gap. And again, this gap exists in most states. This gap of criminal law representation exists in most states. And so they're saying, okay, well, people don't want $200,000 of debt to go get paid 50 grand to be a PD that's stressed out.
Yeah.
And so even the lawyers that do graduate from law school in Arizona and continue to practice in Arizona aren't practicing criminal law.
Yeah. So, yeah. this it's I think it's an interesting idea, like, to use this 1-year program to give I mean, it seems to me like actually there's still like a 3-year aspect of it, right? Because it's like you do the 1-year program of the master's, but then you have the 2 years of apprenticeship. So it seems like you're still kind of getting in those
It
3 years
seems a
in a
little
different
bit like
way.
law school. It
A
sounds
little
like law
bit.
school.
Yeah. Um yes. But that aside, like it's interesting because if you speak with attorneys, they frequently say like the real work of being a lawyer, like you don't learn in law school. Like law school teaches you how to think like a lawyer, kind of introduces you to obviously introduce you to the law and like gets you started on your legal path, but like what actually gets you to being a lawyer is working in the law. Sounds like obvious, but like, that's the case. So it's interesting to me like to condense that work into 1 year and then like put people into the field quicker to get them working quicker. I think it's an interesting approach. I'm curious to see how it plays out if it plays out.
It is an interesting approach, and I think that the if you're like listening to this, you're like, how the hell are they going to cram 3 years of stuff into 1 year? Well, like Amina just mentioned, right? The reality is a lot of the third year of law school is apprenticeship stuff. Like it's working in clinics and working under supervising attorneys, so you can learn your trade. The other punchline to this program, this proposed program in Arizona, is every credit that the person would take for this master's would be criminal law. So they're only learning one aspect of the law,
Hmm.
for better or for worse, right? So proponents of the program are like, well, you want to represent people in criminal law, like in criminal court. So here's a bunch of criminal law classes. Why would you need to take property, right? Why would you need to take torts? Why would you need
Right.
to take Civ Pro? Uh, and I mean, can you imagine? I
Well,
mean,
well,
there's
Sif,
there's
well,
there's
yeah,
a
Sif
few
Pro.
answers to there's some responses to that. Where it's
Yeah.
like you might need to take some of these classes to be the
Yeah.
best representative for your client that you could be.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, yeah. I do I'm split a little bit because I'm like, there is a part of me that's like, there is probably a different way to do law studies that could give you a result like this. Like, and I think like this wouldn't work obviously for everybody because it's like not everybody is like, yes, I'm just gonna do criminal law, like get me in, get me out.
Yeah.
Um, but I also think like it's great that there is a way to like get people working in the field of law if they're very specifically like, I want to do this and like I'm willing to do this.
And it's a narrow enough scope, you might argue, right? So I think the analogy that the article draws, there's a person making this argument, and I believe that it's Dave Byers, the director of courts for the Arizona Supreme Court. So this is like an administrator for the Arizona Supreme Court. Dave Byers says, if you look at medicine, a while ago it was you have to be a doctor to practice medicine. Now we have EMTs, nurse practitioners, physician assistants. There's multiple avenues of approach to practice medicine and to get medical care, and those avenues of approach have lowered. Well, I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to say they've lowered the cost of medical care in America.
Well,
That's a
hey,
whole different ballgame. But
big
at
if
least
true.
they've made certain kinds of procedures more accessible to more people.
Yeah.
So if you think about like, hey, there's a need, people need representation in these cases, and there's not enough doctors, right? If you compare lawyers to doctors, which I don't know if that's an apt comparison either. Um, but yeah, if there's not enough of this kind of professional, maybe we do need another kind of professional. I
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's complicated. Um, would that be a due process issue, right? Would we have to amend the Constitution? Is that right to counsel, right?
Hmm.
If you think
Whoa.
about if
Whoa.
you
Whoa.
think of well, if you think about Gideon, the takeaway from Gideon v. Wainwright is if the state is going to restrict your liberty, if we're
Yeah.
going to put you in jail potentially, you have the right to be represented by counsel. Would this person count as counsel?
Which interesting side note, Gideon v. Wainwright, Abhi just dropped that, but that's the case that actually established like the public defender system very recently. I just for book club I was reading Justice Jackson's memoir, biography, whatever. Um, and she was a public defender, and she talked about how in the 60s this case, Gideon v. Wainwright, came and established the public defender system. So look into that. Maybe we could break down a case on the pod sometime.
Maybe
Um,
so. I mean, Gideon's a
yeah,
big one. That's a
Gideon's
what they call
huge.
landmark Supreme Court case that changed a lot of the legal landscape pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Um, But it
But
begs the question, right? Would this person count as counsel?
yeah.
If you get arrested and you are faced with criminal charges and you ask for an attorney and they send you one of these people, are your constitutional rights to due process being protected? I don't
Well,
know.
that's a very deep question because then it goes into like what makes an attorney, like is it the JD? Like is it the JD because I mean, this is getting into the whole like ABA argument and the ABA being a guild and like what's actually needed for somebody to practice law. But big question, complex answer. But yeah, you're right. Like it does raise some issues and raise some questions that definitely need
Well,
addressing before you just
and
yeah.
there's a county attorney. I think attorney Laura Conover is quoted in this article too. She's a county attorney for one of the counties considering this, and her point is, if my grandmother needs a will drafted, she better have a full fledged, fully licensed 3 year barred attorney. Apparently, because there's money on the line. But then she brings up the very valid point. If my cousin is facing 25 to life, this less educated, I'll put in quotes, um, less, essentially a different standard of attorney is okay for somebody facing 25 to life versus we need a JD to draft a will just because there's money. I don't know. This is weird. It feels weird.
But that's the thing, like it's a really big conversation of like what do you actually need to effectively represent people?
Yeah. And in which circumstances, right?
Yeah.
In which circumstances? Like, are we valuing people's money more than their freedom?
Are we saying that we value their freedom more by putting them I mean
Yeah.
less
Like,
with
by
putting them with one of these
establishing a
people? Like,
standard.
does
Yeah.
this program is it less valuable the education that these people are getting and their ability to represent? I don't know. Huge, huge, huge conversation.
Huge questions, right? And it's
Huge
certainly a different
conversation.
standard. It's certainly a different standard. Unclear. You're right. I mean, unclear what value we're juxtaposing onto the different standard, but
Yeah.
it's certainly a different standard. And then that gets into like, oh well, now why do we have different standards for different legal proceedings? This could be a whole can of worms, but um, I mean, hey, we're wholly unqualified to discuss this, but I say fuck it, do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting and obviously complex proposal, but if when it starts to be implemented, like we'll see what happens.
We indeed will see what happens. If the ABA has anything to do with it, they're going to say absolutely not.
Oh yeah.
This is
Immediately
not.
no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can definitely see how this might be tough. But hey, it brings up the question of yeah, are we training enough attorneys, and are enough of them doing what society needs them to do? Um, that's a whole different conversation. That's above our pay grade, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I would concur, but yeah, just something for you guys to think about. And also look into if you're interested in being a public defender, like we need y'all. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
So such necessary work. And this
Arizona
might
wants you
be
so bad that they're willing
yeah,
to like add a new level of legal education
completely
just to
changed.
accommodate you.
Yeah. So yeah, this might be something that maybe speaks to you. I don't
Very
know.
cool. Yeah, if you
Um,
guys have a current event you guys want us to talk about, obviously feel free to write in. Again, I'll just throw this out there, crushingwell.com. If there's something that catches your eye, write in. We'd love to talk about it.
yeah. Okay. So segue.
Segue.
Segue. Two things we want to talk about. Well, one thing I want to talk about. We're learning new words, you guys. We're learning legal terms, and I found one. I learned a new one this week, question mark, this week or last, that I saw this word and I was just like, what is this? And I wanted to share. So,
And so now we have a segment called Legal Word of the Week.
yep, now we have a legal word of the week, legal wow, if you will.
A legal wow.
And I want to legal wow
A
you today with the word
wow.
wow. No, I'm gonna legal wow you today with the word replevin. So replevin is a legal action and a court order that allows a plaintiff to recover personal property that was wrongfully taken or detained by another party, along with potential damages. So the interesting thing about replevin is, I feel like it used to be used like for people who had things like wrongfully taken from them, like by their like I want to say like going back to like English systems of like, oh, like, somebody took my cow, my like it's not a landlord. What do they call like your person who like runs
Like your feudal lord or
yeah,
whatever.
like the
Yeah.
Lord, like takes your property because they're like, you're not, doing what you're supposed to. Like, I'm taking this and it's mine now. Um, but now it's like, kind of used in the same way, but like it used to be like for people to like get their property restored to them, like, people who are actually like kind of victims of like low-key theft. But now it's like the way that they use it is like, for instance, oh, Avi, we talked about this. This was from the Fuentes case. This
We
woman,
did.
yes, this woman, she got a stove and a stereo, I think it was, from Firestone, this company called Firestone. She was making payments, then there was like this, I think the stove needed to be repaired, and so there was some issue with getting the stove repaired on Firestone's part, and she was like, okay, you didn't repair my stove, I'm not going to continue making the payments. um Firestone filed a writ for replevin. Is that correct? A writ of replevin. They filed they asked for replevin. They took her stove, and she had to come to court and be like, that was not right. You can't just take my stove without telling me or giving me any notice. Um, so yeah, replevin. It happens in real life.
It happens in real life, and yeah, it turns out that was not procedural due process. Or at least she had the right to some sort of preliminary relief.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the issue in that case with the replevin, I didn't want to get like too into the weeds with the case, but the issue with the case is like, yes, they're allowed to like replevy her stove, but not without notice or a due process hearing. So that was the ruling in that case. Like, they had violated her 14th Amendment right to due process by just taking it, especially, and then like, because the way that they have to do replevin within somebody's home is that you have to get like a police officer to take it. So then you're involving the state in the
So now all
replevy.
of a
Like,
sudden the government is breaking into your house and stealing your shit, and you didn't even have a chance to give your side of the story. It
yeah,
turns out that shit illegal as hell.
yep, unconstitutional. So yeah, replevin. That's my word of the week. I've legal wowed you. I hope you're wowed.
I'm wowed. I'm incredibly
Thank
wowed. I don't know if I'm low wowed, but I'm certainly wowed.
Whoa. Well, I don't want to low wow you. I just want to wow you legally.
Okay, understood. You know what? You know what might low wow you is my segue to the Crushing 1L kind of tie-in. Um, Speaking of words that we're learning and cases and stuff, there's a whole nother part of this, which I've kind of already mentioned, right? My writing assignment is competing with my time to keep up with the rest of my classes, which is a very normal, I think, thing. And you have one coming up too.
Yep.
So the tie, Crushing 1L segment here, we have a legal writing unit on Crushing 1L. So if you're like, what the hell are Amin and Abi talking about? What kind of writing assignments should I expect from my first semester or two in law school? What do they look like? What does a legal argument look like when it's written out? All of your questions, well, not all of your questions, some of your questions might be answered in our legal writing unit on crushing1l.com.
Yeah, check it out. So like, essentially legal writing is very different from regular writing, and it's basically just you're building arguments in favor of your client, or to give your client an idea of what kind of arguments they might win or lose on in court. That's what our writing assignments deal with, but like the Crushing 1L content will give you a better overview of like what you might expect in legal writing, which is a huge, 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 huge aspect of your first year of law school education. Like, kind of, I mean, everybody says like, oh, this class or this class or this class is one of the most important classes you'll take in law school, but actually all of my professors tend to concur that legal writing is like fundamental.
Yeah, because we're
So
we're learning how to like read and navigate legal issues in our doctrinal classes, but
yeah.
that is all for naught if you cannot then communicate about what you've learned from those cases. So we have cases and we have readings that we do every week for our doctrinal classes, but we also have cases that we read for our writing assignments and stuff. And so those are grounded in reality. You're going to learn to research cases. You're going to learn to read and analyze cases and synthesize rules across cases so that you can communicate about them to somebody else, whether it's a supervisor or a subordinate or a judge or whatever, right? So turns out writing's really important to this. Reading and writing, folks. This is like reading and writing, you know,
This is reading and writing
central.
school. Yeah,
It's
this is what
reading
we're
and writing
doing.
school. Yeah, it's not law school. It's reading and writing school, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I've only learned like a few laws. I thought I would learn way more laws by now. I mean, I don't know.
You don't have all the laws on your bookshelf?
No, that's Aaron. Aaron already has them all, and now I need to figure out how to get some on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
That's so sad. But yeah, folks, Crushing 1L, I lied earlier. It's not, crushing1l.com is the website for writing into the podcast. But if you want to check out Crushing 1L, like the actual platform, go to lsatdemon.com, check it out. There's some stuff up for free for Crushing 1L if you want to test it out. But everything is available to any paid Demon plan. So whether you're basic, premium, or live, you can attend Crushing 1L classes, live classes. That's like a pretty significant value. Those are usually pretty expensive. So you can come to classes for Crushing 1L with just a basic plan or above. You can also access all of the published content under Crushing 1L if you just have a basic plan or premium or live, obviously. So
Yeah.
worth checking out.
And again, we're talking about Erin because we love her so much. She just did a Crushing 1L class. She went over like her note-taking system and how to brief cases. She's again went through law school, did it successfully. You know, this is what we're offering you. We just want to
Yeah.
help.
And
Come check it out.
there's a ton more coming down the pipeline too. And again, these are like real 2Ls and 3Ls and attorneys that have crushed their first year. You're not just gonna have to listen to me and Amina. Amina and I are just gonna like, hey, like this is what our vibes are like,
I'm
but we're
actually
not
like
gonna be
not even
teaching those.
there.
Yeah,
Not even there yet. Yet.
yeah,
Um,
no, exactly.
yeah. But yeah.
Exactly. We're still in our process. We're still in our learning season. But if you want to talk to people who have already done it and get some advice, come to those classes. Again, basic, premium, or live. All of it has access to it. But hey, I don't even care if you check it out or not. If if you're watching this podcast and you've made it this far, chances are you're probably a little interested. So you might be interested in checking it out.
Yeah. Actually, I need to get back into the Crushing 1L classroom. I need to make another surprise
Yeah,
visit.
watch the recording. Watch the recording. Oh yeah, I mean, as a person, yes, please come.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I teach on Mondays, and that's just kind of like 1L vibes. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen the recording for Aaron's class, I would recommend it. I've watched it a couple times. It's helped inform how I take my notes. So it's cool stuff, folks. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, come check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all we have for you, folks. That's it for this episode of Crushing 1L. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to subscribe, leave a review, or even better, share it with someone in your life that may be thinking about law school. If you have a question, you can always write into the podcast at podcast@crushing1l.com. Again, that's the number one, podcast@crushing1l.com. Or even easier, just go to crushing1l.com and there'll be a type form there for you to submit any questions, comments, or concerns. But this has been Aaminah, and I'm Abhi, and we'll see you next time. Until then, keep crushing it.